Greetings and welcome, everybody. This is Dave Darrington, and welcome to another episode of Working Out Loud. It's been a little bit, been a minute, as we say. This is a pre-recorded episode, by the way. You'll see that in the top there. And again, thanks for joining. I always like to frame up by saying, what is this live stream about? What are you watching this for? I'm thankful that you've showed up to hang out with us here. This is casual. This is fun. This is just us talking. And we're talking and we're working out loud some new ideas and ways to learn. So thanks for joining me on this journey. We're going to continue talking about customer enablement, customer success, and customer education, and that's the primary one. So what I'm going to do today is take myself off solo view here, and I want to hold off just a minute. I'll do the intro here, and I'll welcome my friend Myta Santiago. We're going to be talking today about some new stuff. So, Myta, why don't you introduce yourself? I'd like to learn a little bit about you and your background, where you are, and we're going to have a great conversation here.
Hey Dave, good morning from the Philippines. Hi, my name is Myta and I'm the content writer for Digital Mass. We are a Australian-based local marketing platform, and we make it easy for multi-location businesses to improve their visibility on Google and other search engines and other online citations. So aside from that, I also have a small business. I sell loose leaf tea here in the Philippines. I'm starting in Manila. Yeah. And I also I also specialize in Chinese and Taiwanese oolongs. So those are tea, a type of tea. And actually, because of these two, because of Digital Mass and my tea business, Relief Tea, I try to make education-based marketing and content for cross-functional stuff, because I am my own business. I am a business owner, but I also want to educate. So I do marketing, I do sales, I do promotions, I do admin work, everything on my own. And all of that I realized is based on customer education. The customer is really at the center of everything that I do.
It is. And this is why I really want to talk to you. So for the audience here, this is going to be a fun episode because Myta and I connected in January of 2022 for time traveling, I think. We've kind of known each other on social media.
Go a little bit way back. I think April last year, because I watched a podcast and then I connected with you on LinkedIn. I asked for sources about customer education.
Yeah. Okay. So we've known each other then for roughly a year-ish.
Yeah.
And when we got talking, and I'm thinking about January because you and I had a good conversation. We sat on the phone on Zoom for over an hour, I think, just talking about your interest and your work and how all these things relating to each other. So for our audience, what I thought would be a really cool discussion is there are people like you out there in the world that have the passion, the drive, and the interest to bring things together. And that's why you and I connected. You and I are and those others, educators in the world that are in the software world are very similar. We're going to explore something. We're really passionate about it. We want to bring things together and do education. And then it's customer success too. So the conversation that we're going to have here today is going to be a few parts. One, what I really want to do is go into your journey, Myta, and talk about why did you decide to learn all these things and dive into customer education? You've already kind of given us a teaser, but then what's really interesting is to say, how are you bringing that into your day to day? How are you making, because we don't, the other reason that I'm interested in this, because it's customer success and customer education have now spread throughout the entire world.
Yes.
But I don't hear about it as much in other markets. So it was really neat when you started saying, I'm learning this thing, I want to do more, I'm going to use it in my job. And you started talking about the differences in business and how, I think you said that it's just starting to emerge in your day-to-day life. So a lot to talk about. Sound good when we get going on this here?
Let's go. Let's goof it.
Good. Okay. For me, it's a Friday afternoon. For you, it's a Saturday morning. We're just relaxing. Myta is going to be showing us some tea here. I'm drinking some terrible coffee. Now, okay, let's start with the first topic. What one of the first things that struck me really with our discussion is you weren't afraid to go say, like, your leadership, I don't think was even telling you to do this research and education, not directly for your job,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So tell me about where you were in your, like, this could be at your work or your tea business. When was the time you decided, I'm going to learn these things? I'm going to learn these skills.
Okay, so actually, when I learned about customer how that customer education existed, it was I was actually looking for free videos and podcasts on technical writing, because my
Oh,
manager wanted me to improve my technical writing skills because I can do creative writing. And I was starting to update our support center, so I needed to have a more technical, not so storytelling
yeah.
background for that. So I was looking on YouTube, and then I came across your podcast with TechSmith, and I got hooked. The rest is history. We connected. Yeah. So
Reconnected, yeah.
yeah, so I kind of went on a rabbit hole of customer education, and I was starting to create charts on how sales, CS, marketing, and even product are related to one another. And I always saw that one variable, that constant variable that was just everywhere, and that's the customer. And I said, okay, so it does the customer doesn't solely belong to the CS doesn't solely take care of the customer. So what about me in marketing? So I said, okay, maybe I can possibly frame my content across the board to make it sound like I'm really teaching people. I'm really teaching not only our existing customers, but those who are interested in our platform
Yeah.
about local search engine optimization, Google, how to play around with Google, or and of course our platform. And I think I was even a little bit before that. That also inspired me was the head of customer success at Digital Mass came to me and said, "Hey, why can you make us do infographics?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do infographics." And I really had no like, okay, I'm just gonna do infographics because that's what the content person does. You
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
content.
They give her
Then
graphics. Okay.
yeah, that's it. Again, well, like it had no impact for me. It was just another day at work. Blah blah blah. Right. Then I was just making things. Then also noticed that the content that they gave me had no flow. So I put it on. I just translated. I just put a flow on the infographic, then left the content on its own, and then sent it to him. And then I got feedback a few days later, a couple of weeks later, and he said, our customer really loved it. It was so straight to the point. They felt that we gave more value to their not only to the platform but to their brand as a whole. And there, another rest is history thing.
That's really
So
okay.
yeah,
So that was like your origin story.
yeah.
You get, and that makes you, that have to make you really feel good because here you are talking to the CEO,
Hmm.
right? And you're learning things together, but you've learned that the customer and education are really important. It was funny because I can share with you the podcast that I do called C Lab. We were talking with Nick Meta recently and just launched that episode. Now, what's interesting about that is we're talking about customer success here. And Nick is now saying, and he has all along, how important education is. And like we're all doing education. But what I liked about your story here, I love about your story is that you recognize this. Your team you're like, we're doing education. Why? Because that brings value to the customer. Why? Because the value needs to know how to use this thing. And we shouldn't have to say this anymore, but education is the core of everything we do in business with the
Hmm.
customer.
Yes,
I love that story. That's so cool. So the benefit of this or the outcome of your work was that the customer loved it, and that
yes.
kind of that
That
wanted to
kindled the
more.
flame in my heart.
I like how you say that. Kindle the flame in my heart. My,
Like
my heart is a rocket.
rocket going to the customer, giving value.
Yeah. So what did you start doing after that? So you've got so here are a digital mass, and you're I really think I dig your market because this SEO market and trying to help people understand how to optimize what their web presence is doing. There's folks that I work with who have worked in this industry. Well, it's so hard. And it's like not so technical, but it is technical.
And the answer is always, I'm not so sure. It depends. There are a lot of factors,
So it's an
right?
art.
So it's everything. It's an art. It's a business. It's a science. It's pretty much like film. It's a trifecta of all types of stuff.
All types of stuff. We'll get into video
Yeah.
games later. It gets into that
Oh,
too, right?
yeah.
Okay, well, tell me then. Like, I want to get into your tea stuff first, but I do want to close the loop off of it. Like, I feel like this is a really good place to start your story.
Mhm.
You and other people like you who are all over the world who are going, look, we're just not being successful enough, are going, look, I'm going to turn the table, and now I'm going to start like looking for different. The thing that I love the most about what you have said so far is this: hey, how can I teach people? How can I educate? How can we learn? And that's not
Mhm.
often the first thing that people lead with. Most of the time is what can we just put out there? Like I put the infographic out there, I'm done, right? But your content writing has transitioned itself into more of an educator, customer success role,
Mhm.
which I think is good. Tell me a little bit more about digital mass and what you're doing there before we move on.
All right. So on a day-to-day basis, I write blogs. I work with sales. I work with CS. I work even with the devs sometimes, so through quality assurance. So I would, for me to write support articles and blog articles, I have to go into the platform and see.
Yeah,
It's, do step by step on everything so that everything works. But I already know the platform to some level. It's always changing, and I always like learn about it. But what about the customer who's doing using other tools for their business, regardless of whatever function? How are they gonna keep up? So I try to see it in the simplest way that number one, we're making it easy for you. That's our mission at Digital Mass. Number two, here are the steps. Just go through them. There are photos, there are images, there's GIFs even. And number three, it goes back to my own marketing mission. How do I give value to all sides?
right.
Marketing has evolved really from just helping sales make a sale, or writing content or doing PR. No, it's actually more. I don't know if that a right word is altruistic, or it's becoming more holistic, I guess.
Yeah, it
In a,
is.
yeah, in a sense that you cannot just be a marketer in the marketing world anymore. You have to be a hybrid. You have to be so many things. You have to be a specialist and a generalist and something in between all at the same time. And you have to always keep learning. And I got that from my mom. She was a film producer back 70s, 80s, 90s. And she was
Wow.
teaching film marketing too. So, origin story goes back to my mom teaching me marketing. And she always told me, you are always in a cycle of learning. You never stop learning. Even as you grow old, even on your deathbed, you will learn something about yourself, your life, about other people. And you have to put that in. And she taught me this before I started going to the workforce. Like, you have to make sure that you're always upskilling, or in her own terms, I'm always upskilling. I'm
Feeling
always learning. Invest in yourself. Don't before you invest in other people. She was like, before you get into a relationship, in short, take care of yourself first. And for us, taking care of ourselves is always, making our worlds bigger by learning. And I translate that to my work, not just for the customer, but my first customer will be my teammates. If they know how to work on the platform, if they learn something new about SEO or anything, it came from me. That's a good key performance indicator. And if they're able to send that out to their to prospects or existing customers, I've done a good job. I can log out of work
absolutely.
saying like, "Hey, I can rest now because I helped somebody make it clear for somebody already today."
It's there's been a podcast by a peer of mine, Bill Kishard, called "Helping Cells Radio," And
Mm.
I like that title because he always would say this, and also my CEO Rob would say, helping, selling doesn't help, but helping sells. And why does helping sell? Like if you spend the time, for example, I've been doing a workshop about it, customer education, and I just launched the first one, and it was great. We had a great time. It was like this: we had people talking, we had interacting, and but what the real value of teaching and bringing all of these things together, like you're doing, is for business, is that we're able to say, Myta, you want to do this thing. To do this thing, you need to know, okay, you do step one, step two, step three. But before you get to step one, there's an idea and the background story and all of these things. And we tend to like to, in business, get away from the education and say, just do this, 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 this. And then we find our customers are not able to use our technology because they've been conditioned either by us doing it for them or they give up, right? Because it's too hard.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The adoption is gone halfway. Yeah.
this is a hard world.
So,
So I love you. I love your story. And Digital Mass is a great person, and you're thinking all of these different things. You're bringing your whole self to work.
I
Um,
have to thank my teammates at Digital Mass. If I'm sure I'm gonna send this out
Shout
to
out to
them.
them right here. Say
Yeah,
hello.
I love them so much because I learn from them. They learn from me. It's always a two-way street with these guys. We're a bunch of crazy people making an awesome product every day. There's going to be a bit of miscommunication, but at the end of the day, our main goal is to make a good product, make an awesome product, work together, and make sure that we're all learning. At least on my end, we're always learning. Like every morning or every Monday, what I do is, what did I learn over the weekend? I put it on my Slack channel
Oh, that's
on my
nice.
yeah. What did I learn in the morning? Oh, here are the new trends in Google. You might find it interesting. So nobody might reply. I don't care, but I say it there if they need some. If they tell me, hey, I heard about this, blah blah blah. Oh, I already posted about it on the marketing channel. Check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. That would be a really good tradition to share. Like, what do we learn? Let's set the tone for learning on day one every week.
yeah. Start the week right.
Yeah.
Share.
Sharon, okay, let's change course here. You've completed stage one. Is how did Myta get into this, and why is it helping your company? And that's a great story. So I
Mhm.
love that. But let's turn the tables and have a little bit more fun. Again, a Friday afternoon. It'll be a Friday morning, and for most people listening, when we go live, so it'll be next week when this goes live. So for time travelers, but let's talk. Let's change this now and talk about your passions and talk about tea. And we'll get into what I'd like you to do is think about me as, I think about this a lot. Like this is a lifestyle thing, but business is lifestyle too.
Yes.
Let's pretend, and actually, Maida, I had this experience recently. I'm not a big tea drinker, but that can change. I have been before. I just don't know much about it. It hasn't been part of my cultural upbringing, right? My
Mm-hmm.
heritage. We would drink. Here's tea for me. My mom would make sun tea, big container of water. She would take Lipton's is a big producer of really generic, I'm not going to say bad, but it's very generic, common run of the mill tea. You'd put the tea bags in, close it up, and sit it out in the bright sunlight in the summer and have amazing tea. It was actually pretty good. But it's not like where I went to a place called Tivana, or like not in Tivana.
Yeah.
There's a store it was in an island that we would go visit here in the Seattle region, the Puget Sound area, and they had all these teas. And I walk in, and I'm completely overwhelmed. There's a
Like
lifestyle waiting for me.
big canisters of tea.
Big canisters, all kinds,
Yeah.
all stuff. The people were so excited, and I'm like, I ain't gonna go over here because I am blown away, but I
Yeah.
truly want to learn. So let's talk about this. And I think the frame up is what you're gonna show us is like these are the things like how do I onboard? Let's change the terminology a bit. You're doing this right now. Customer success and customer education can be part of any kind of business,
Mm-hmm.
particularly because any kind of business today is going to have technology.
Yeah.
So I'll let you lead for a while. I'm really interested in seeing how you approach like the tea business from a customer success point of view.
Okay. So you did mention that you grew up drinking some form of tea, and
Hmm.
actually, I kind of want people to take away the notion that if you drink loose leaf tea, you're better than other people. That's not true. Despite what other people might think, that's up to them. But
Hmm.
for me, if you're happy with tea bags, go for it. I cannot tell you what to like, but if you want to work with me and you're happy with tea bags, or I don't know, milk tea powder, even I don't whatever you're fancy, I will work with that. But I'll work with my teas to help you work with your teas.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I have this. I don't know.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
at this.
yeah.
Oh, don't break it.
It's okay. It's okay. I have like five of these anyway. So yeah, I am going to onboard you on how to drink tea using the Gong Fu style of brewing. So a little bit of background. Gong Fu is chiefly used in Chinese and Taiwanese cultures, and
Hmm.
it has three main vessels. Just three main vessels. There's the Gai one, or the little teacup, teapot, or sorry, teacup like this.
Okay.
You can also use a teapot if you're comfortable with that, or if that's the only thing that's available around you right now. Then you have a Gong Dao Bei, which is like a milk pitcher for coffee drinkers.
Okay.
Then yeah, and sorry, and your good old teacup. I'm getting confused with my terms sometimes. And for all of this, to make sure that you're not dripping into your table, you have a tea tray. So there are big tea trays, there are small tea trays. This is like the basic
Mhm.
one. You can get this on Amazon, I think.
That's so you don't make a
And
mess and it's
yeah,
organized,
so
you can carry it.
yeah, so and it's also nice for decorations if you just want to have your tea on one side. It actually just frames your main tea gear in
Right.
one spot. So what I have is from my store. My store is called Relief because I like to play around with words. So
Yeah.
here's a relief package for you. We hope that artists have given you relief, things like that. So
So is
yeah,
it? I'll go look it up while you're doing that. Is
don't
Elliot?
look it up. I haven't
Oh,
fixed the
so I won't.
website
Okay, I
yet.
won't do that.
Yeah, I'm still fixing the website. Yeah, but I mean, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I'm loud out there.
Okay.
So yeah. So what I have in my guy one right now is osmanthus oolong. It's actually my favorite oolong tea because compared to what people are more used to, which is which means jasmine green tea.
Hmm.
It's fragrant, but it's not strong. The fragrance is not strong. The astringency is not strong. So
Okay.
this is perfect for people who want to get into tea, but they don't want to be too overwhelmed. They don't want to get so many flavors, so much information and be overstimulated. This
Got it.
is, yeah, this is the starter tea, and it's also part of my starter kit. So I have a
Oh, you have a
starter kit.
starter kit too?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I have a starter kit. There are 20 grams of osmanthus oolong, then another type of oolong. So it's I made that a starter kit depending on not only on the tea type, but also on the level of astringency or mouthfeel or texture
Okay.
on your tongue. Because sometimes people like that dry feeling on their tongue when
Yeah.
they're drinking tea. Others like a smoother taste. Like me, I prefer smooth textures on my tongue,
Okay.
and it's a preference. And so at least I have everything for everyone. So you also need a kettle, and it doesn't have to be temperature controlled. You can just boil it up to 100 degrees, then wait for a couple of minutes to let it like cool down a little bit, and then you can start pouring your tea. So I'll
So
just
you're saying boiling point, or
boiling point, and if you don't have a temperature control, because my kettle is temperature controlled, I can
Mhm.
add in my desired temperature. Like this one was boiling at 85 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And yeah, if you don't have that, again, if that's not accessible for you at the moment, you can go for boiling point, and then wait for 1 or 2 minutes for it to cool down. And then if it's still warm and good, you can start pouring the tea into a teapot or a gaiwan. So I'm gonna do it like so. So as you can see, there you go. One of my favorite things, and this is what I tell my customers, is that when the you can sometimes leave the tea lid open if you're using a gaiwan. You can actually slowly watch the tea leaves unfurl. It's very meditating. You're watching the impermanence of life. From a ball shape down to it's slowly opening up, and that's when the flavors are coming out. And then you wait for about compared to old school or Western style brewing, if I'm using the terms right, where you put the tea leaves in a mug. You have to wait for like maybe 2 to 3 minutes for the flavors to come out to steep properly. Here with Gong Fu style brewing, you only wait. You don't have to steep it for more than 30 seconds, depending on
Oh,
their tea type. So
okay.
for osmanthus oolong, you can already, like, by 30 seconds, start to pour it in the pitcher and then pour it into your tea. So
Okay.
I'm
That's
gonna do
interesting.
that right. Yeah.
So one thing is I'm a chemist by education,
Okay.
and the reason I say that is because and this is another reason I was interested in your tea presentation, that this is chemistry. This is called an extraction. So what you're
Yes.
doing is actually making a mild solution. It's water. The tea goes into the water. It extracts or brings out the flavors, the aromatics, the chemicals that are in the
Mm-hmm.
tea. And
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
yeah, but that's very interesting. But it's interesting that you say, like, well, this is only 30 seconds, because where I've always been trained, well, you say trained, that's terrible. The Midwestern style United States
Wait for
folks,
2 to 3 minutes for it to steep.
just put the bag in there and let it sit for all afternoon. Be fine.
That's gonna be strong tea.
It was, well, yeah, and I like that song. But then you have different kinds of teas where in the southern part of the United States you would drink very sweet teas, but then they're cold,
Yes.
not this
Yes.
hot. So it's a very different kind of culture. We drink coffee more often. Um, but anyway, that's neat. Okay, 30
Yeah.
seconds. Now we're pouring it. We're gonna get ready to
Yeah.
drink.
Okay. Here's the thing that a lot of my friends like to see me do. I pour the tea into the pour. Wait, how do I do it? There you go. I pour the tea into the pitcher like this. So you have to let it. You're
Sure,
filtering the
hold on.
tea. Yeah, you're filtering the tea leaves using the lid. Using the lid, and you come out with a sort of yellow green pale golden tea color.
Yeah.
That's standard for osmanthus oolong. Now, the reason why I'm transferring it to a pitcher before putting it in the teapot is so that it doesn't oversteep with the leaves. So that's why they call it a fairness cup, so that the taste is standard, especially when you're serving tea to more than to yourself and other people.
Okay.
They get the same. They get the same strength, they get the same taste, flavor, as you will be. So it
So you're
doesn't get
standardizing
stronger.
the
Basically,
experience. The customer
yes,
experience is standardized.
yes, because as much as I want to personalize, but it's always a trial and error thing. It might you know you might want it stronger so you can steep it a little longer. You
Yeah.
might want it a little bit more subtle, so steep it for about 15 to 20 seconds. You're good to go. So yeah, we're going to now put this in the teacup like so. I'm sure whoever's listening to this might tell me, "Hey, why don't you rinse your tea leaves?" Like, I don't do that.
That's just a
So and then
personal thing.
um, a lot of uh, a lot of tea sellers would do that first, but for if it's just for me, I won't. But if I'm doing it, if I'm serving other people, I will rinse the tea first on the first steep. Then the second steep will be to they'll be for serving. The main purpose for that actually is to just wash out anything that might
Mhm.
contaminate the tea. It will also really bring out the flavors on the second steep, because the second steep will might be the most impactful. then because the flavors and aromatics will die down around the fourth or fifth steep, depending on your tea. There are teas that can go for long as 10 steeps. Yeah, so the second one is just like the kicker.
Okay, so I'm understanding. Let me see if I can check my understanding while you take a drink. Um,
Mm.
so really, this is more of a cultural. This is it's not the right word. This is a human ritual in a way
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
where we are. Like, I think the thing is like sometimes when we think about tea, and you're very elegant in how you produce it, it's pour it all in there really fast, let it sit long enough to extract everything out of it, then drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we
Yeah.
throw the tea away. And that I've done that. I mean, guilty, but the tea wasn't very expensive. But here, what we're saying is now we can enjoy the same thing because you're getting different washes over the tea.
Yes.
The first
Yeah.
one might be really light. I'll throw that away. That's my rinse wash. The second one will get the next layer because we're coming in and from a chemical perspective, that makes a lot of sense because in chemistry, oh, here's a story.
Go first.
I used to do something called chromatography. And the principles behind chromatography are very much the same as the extraction, except what you usually do is like a strip of paper. Have you ever seen those things where you have a strip of paper, you dip it down into something?
Yeah,
Like you
like
do that.
a litmus test.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even better, the first kind of chromatography done was very much. It was called thin layer chromatography, and you would put a drop of a chemical on a strip of paper, and then you would dip that into a solution like water or whatever, and there would be something would travel up that, and you would start to see a separation of different kinds of colors.
Mm-hmm,
It looked really
mm-hmm.
pretty. Like
Mm.
kids would do this you put some paint in a bucket and do that with the strip. But that's what you're doing with your tea. You're getting different kinds of chemicals coming out in different moments in different concentrations. So what you're saying now we have an experience over the breadth or the life cycle of the tea leaves. Oh, we're going way deep on Saturday morning. But
No,
that's
it's
part of it. Like
okay.
you don't think about that. That's your job. That's your role as a customer success manager. You
Yeah,
get those.
that's the language that I don't talk in when I'm talking to customers because not everybody's a chemist, right?
Yeah,
So I don't talk about the
exactly.
scientific side of aromatics. I just tell them, oh, just taste it and smell it. What do you smell? What do you taste? I make it. This is where the personalization comes in. When I'm standardizing, telling them to standardize the tea, it's still a different experience from person to person. So I can say that this reminds me of when I was drinking it. It reminds me of one morning. It brings out a memory. Others it'll bring out like a familiar taste. Like, oh, this one, for example, they told me it reminds me of the cotton candy I used to eat when I was young. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Cool, great. And then they were just going on and on and on about their childhood, and I'm like, okay, just keep telling your story. And then we were just drinking tea on, it was a virtual thing. They were drinking their tea. I was drinking their tea, and then they said at the end, can I buy 200 grams of that? Because I'm going to share to my family. It's almost Chinese New Year, man. Give me some stuff. I'm like, okay, 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 okay. I'll send some to you. So the education is also an upselling thing.
Well, yeah, no, the fact that you're okay, what we're doing here for the audience sake is you can do this experiment with anything. When you take a passion and you build we've all done this. I've had my own businesses too.
Mhm.
Customer success is pervasive and education is fundamental. So
Yes.
what you're doing is you're building your business around the relationship. You're helping with oh, I put some notes down in here. Let's talk about this like over time because I really like what you just said as a key point. Your friend or the person you're working with said, let me buy 200 grams now. And I want to share this experience with others. That's called growth or expansion,
Yeah.
right? And you use the customer success terms. What do we have? We have the first, the sales, the onboarding. Then we start getting into adoption, which is, well, if I was your customer, Myta, what you want to see from me is I'm going to your site monthly or weekly. I'm buying some things from you. Maybe do you do webinars and things where you talk about like sessions and stuff socially?
Yeah. For customers who have bought my tea, they're more than welcome to have like a one-on-one set tea drinking session, especially if they want to learn how to drink tea. then even what I say is, even if you don't buy teas from me, I'm more than welcome to help you out. 'Cause sometimes they say, "Oh, I really liked how you taught me how to drink tea. Can I try your sample set? I want to try. I want to make a comparison between my Lipton tea bags and your tea." Like, sure, I'll send some your way.
Had to get the Lipton joke in there.
I said the tea is not bad, but there's something better all the time.
Okay, so then the other thing you said in that was that you're kind of naturally this is what's really cool is that you've naturally learned a lot of the principles of customer success, and one of the things that is part of it is the relationship.
Mhm.
Relationship building is everything, and this goes back to our helping sales concept before, where it and I think we should inspire to do this more. Like this, a tea drinking ceremony for us could inspire a discussion. We could talk about our day. We can net additional sales. We can talk about something that you've never known about tea before and buy a new product, upsell.
Mhm.
You can um, expand by saying, I have just sold because I had a discussion with Dave here and he liked this tea. He's buying it and now getting his whole family to drink it.
Yeah.
And that's the principles behind it. So you've wedded education, customer success all in one. You did this at work, which is great. Well, this is awfully fun. Like I don't see
And
people
and
think about that too often.
And actually, what I learned through customer, doing applying everything in customer education in my content marketing stuff, it's a cycle. It's not a process. You're all constantly onboarding somebody. When you have a new feature, you have to teach them, right? You have to
Hmm.
hop on a quick webinar. Hey guys, this is something new. Yeah, Myta wrote a blog about it. The support center is updated. And here in my tea business, I always have to introduce the new teas. So for
Yeah.
example, this was Osmanthus Oolong was the first, then slowly like for this one, Gu Shu Shai Hong. It's Chinese for old tree red tea. So the
Hmm.
leaves were harvested in 2002, if I'm not mistaken, and they were only sold 2020. So that sorry 2012. So there was an 8 year storage time for it, and people did not know that you can keep tea for that long. And I said,
Yeah, I
yes, you
didn't.
can. Yes, you can. You can keep tea for that long. Don't pay attention to the expiry date so much. The expiry date is just an indicator that when you open the tea, it will lose its freshness after a certain period of time. But if you keep your tea unopened in its caddy or in
Hmm.
whatever its packaging, and you leave it in the pantry for about a decade, and you remember that you had tea, you open it, and for the first time you drink it and still tastes good, that's it. You just stored your tea. You kind of aged your tea in a
Yeah.
way. And sometimes
Cool.
the aroma, the everything, sometimes gets better over time. Very much like wine.
Hmm. Why would that
Yeah.
be? I mean, I'm not, this is just me asking out of curiosity now because I know in wine you have additional, decomposition of yeasts, release of bubbles in, like if you're talking about a bubbling champagne type, that's happening in the bottle over time, over
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
years. Bourbons and whiskeys, I know, are, like I don't drink a lot of that because it's just not. I've tried it before. It's just not my thing. But I did have somebody teach me the difference between. Okay, here, Dave, try this little sip of a 5 or a 10 year Scotch, and now here, try a 40. And the differences are amazing.
Whoa.
But there's a chemical stuff going on in there that you don't know about.
Yeah. Actually, I still have to study that myself. The chemical side or the sciencey side of tea is the, like, it's I don't have there's not a lot of sources on it. There's just like surface information for people who are just like, I want to find tea that's for slimming. Then they're just gonna put out some random marketing term. I'm in marketing and I know how it is that I'm being marketed to. So if you're using these buzzwords, like, nah, man, you just you're just putting out stuff that people are going to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But yeah, but what else? What else are you gonna educate them on that? Because people are different from, people are unique. What if that component not going to work for them for slimming? So
Yeah.
it's one of the things. Anyway, back to the thing. Um, I still need to make comparisons. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I'm no longer in my 20s, so I can't keep alcohol. I
Join that club. It's the consequences.
college days are over, and yeah. So from what I still have to talk to my producers about that. I've never bothered asking them. I just accepted it as fact. But I'll really, I'll get back to you on LinkedIn and tell you all about it.
Yeah, let's do a blog article on it. What
Yeah,
happens with
sure.
aging of teas over time? Do they get better? Do they not? Why?
Uh, uh, s- some teas are actually, for example, I think uh, the tea that I have, the oldest tea that I have here is 22 years old.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and it's my mom's favorite. She said that it's just so smooth, it's sweet and honey. She really can describe stuff. It's not just, oh, it's nice. It's like, oh, it tastes like honey. It tastes like orchids. It tastes like, oh, mom, have you even eaten orchids? And, no, it tastes like the smell of orchids.
Are you eating orchids, Mom?
Like I know that we're eating vegetables, but orchids are not, I think, edible. So we're making a joke out of it. And then I also gave her, like I said, the Yushu Shai Hong. It's
Right.
the one. It's eight. It was stored for 8 years, and um, if you know the smell of old books, very
Hmm.
woodsy, right?
Yes.
It tastes like that, exactly like that.
Taste like old books smell. That'd be great for library science.
Yeah,
It's old book tea. Hmm.
yeah, and Ian, I think you also get this, like, you get a little bit of flush on the cheeks because that
Hmm.
means you're caffeinated. It has high caffeine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of factors to how HD works. I think I'll be honest, a better tea seller or a tea producer will be able to explain that better than I can because I'm still learning that process. And right now, it's for me information overload. But yeah, that's it.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm on information overload. I've learned a lot more about tea than I think I have in all my life, but this is amazing. We'll start winding down a little bit. The last thing I
Sure.
really wanted to ask you about, just kind of like some open-ended questions, is more like, okay, you've learned a lot on your own about education and success, and I like the fact that you connected this and used it wasn't just for practice. I mean, you're using these techniques in your day to day for your own hobbies as well, your own passions, which is something I don't hear as much about in the customer success and education space. Like, okay, now it's like B2C. You're really helping other people learn, but you're still using some principles. What are
Mhm.
some of your next steps? Like, it could be your tea business, it could be digital mass and what you're doing. Are you thinking about going next step with any, like, building a new academy or a program? Are you thinking about like launching some kind of technology for your tea business? Like, what's next on the radar that you're trying to do from an industry perspective?
Okay. So for digital mass, it's
Mhm.
still business as usual, but I think in the next year, I already proposed that we have an LMS in our website or in our platform so that
Yeah,
onboarding will be easier, and at the same time customers can just go to that academy or learning hub so that they can self-learn.
yeah.
And if they have any questions, CS is there, marketing content is there. So I want to make sure that the learning process is not only accessible but omni-channel. Like even my social media, if you've noticed
Omni-channel. You get
if you
extra points for
notice,
saying that today. That's
it's my favorite word.
that's
I've
a
been
huge
using it
word.
since yesterday. Yeah,
You're spreading your education far and wide.
yeah. Basically I'm recycling content. So the content that actually has value. So I have to check the analytics. What blog was popular in the last couple of months, and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna republish that and make it more education friendly, make it more consumer friendly, and then it'll be for social media. It'll be for an infographic. It can be part of a onboarding kit. So after somebody
Yeah.
onboards the person, okay, here's your here's a summary, and we've also added a onboarding kit for you to share with your team, so that it'll be easy for everybody to understand what the platform is all about. So it's not so it lightens the load for CS because we are making the customer experience more accessible to them even offline.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
we it's still in the works. Me and the head of customer success are like, should we add this? Should we not? It's a question. It's always a question. What should we add? What should we not add? And then then we get sidetracked with a lot of other things. So we have to get back to it eventually. But I'm always like building it up on my own without I don't have to I don't want here's the thing, I don't like it when I like it when I'm a couple of steps ahead of my team, but at the same time I want to work hand in hand with them. So the steps that I take, if for example this is my teammate or this is everybody else, those two steps are so minute, like one two tiny steps, just to make sure that I have the information and they can do it, but at the same they can understand it, but at the same time I'm there in the same space as they are to guide them to better understanding whatever the platform has, for both the internal team and external stakeholders, and make it a better experience for everyone. And I think I went off topic, but yeah, that's how
No, you
passionate
didn't.
about it.
You actually. So the way I want to wrap this up, Maida, is that you've come in like your story is really important for others to hear in our space because what you're epitomizing is the you realize that education is important. Your company didn't go out and make a new team and hire a bunch of people in customer education and hire 10 trainers. You don't need to. You're doing it right now as a part of your day to day, and that's a message that I hope to get out to others, that you don't necessarily have to build a team to do customer education to be doing customer education. And I
Yeah.
like that you're in marketing doing it. I actually had a job stint. I was at Azuqua, which was a tech company too. I was the only person there, kind of like you. I was in marketing and I was doing the things you're doing. I was writing articles, I was doing little classes, but we didn't have another team to do that. And I found that being in marketing actually was a really, really great place to be. Why?
Yes.
Because they have all the toys and the tools and the talent, and they're always learning and thinking about stuff. But I don't think, and the other reason the point I wanted to make here as we wrap up is that marketing can learn a lot from education and customer education and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think of myself as a marketer all the time because when I release new content, I'll go out on LinkedIn and say I release new content, and I don't wait for my company to do it. Right.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm really impressed, and I'll give you a big kudos for building a program and getting it out there. And great to hear what
Yeah.
you're doing on your personal front too. And you just keep having fun, keep doing it. We want to see what
Yeah.
you do over the next couple of years.
Thanks, Dave.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, for my tea, I'm just going to just keep expanding for now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. There's like really no plans, no super concrete plans for the business yet. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to put up your LinkedIn here. You can be found on LinkedIn as well. If anybody you
Yeah.
want to reach out to Maida and talk to her about her experiences or tea or digital
Yeah.
mass, please do. Welcome to the community. We've got. I'll start wrapping up now. Unless is there any other topics you want to talk about before we close out? I think we've talked about some really good stuff.
We didn't talk about video games.
We want to talk about video games. We'll close out on that real quick. But we were talking before about how video games are software as a service, and we don't recognize that a lot. And we both have a joint passion for games.
Yes, we do. But I think we have different playing styles, or I prefer roguelike games,
Oh,
dungeon
I prefer
crawlers.
roguelikes. What are you playing in roguelike right now?
God, I don't know. I got this free off Epic Games, City of Brass.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I'm
Yeah,
playing
it's
Ring of Pain right now, which is a roguelike.
haven't shared it. Is it from Steam?
You can find if you have Microsoft Game Pass, it's on there. It's on Steam. It's on Humble Bundle. It's out on all the
Oh,
things.
okay. Okay, okay,
Um,
okay, okay, yeah.
um, really good. And actually, if I tie it back, I always talk about games on this show because I think games are learning. They're really great experiences, and those of us in education tend to also play some games. We think about
Yeah.
what's pretty cool.
What I like about games is video games right now, there's always a tutorial at the very start. And level one is still like you have all these like and
It's
legend I
onboarding.
don't know. It's onboarding, right? It's onboarding and it never goes away. You know, if you have a new buff, if you have a new skill, if you have a new weapon, you have a little what's that called? Like a dialogue box at the bottom and says use blah 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 to do this, like okay, and then when you forget you always have that, I don't know, on the side you might have like press X on your controller or press W on your keyboard. So like, you know, I think CS teams, marketing teams to an extent, even sales teams I guess, can learn from a lot from video games. It's not violent, it's a learning experience.
Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. The experience that I've been having lately that I think is what most customers have. Have you ever played Dark Souls?
No, haven't
Or
had the chance.
Elden Ring is now one of the latest Souls games from FromSoft that I bought that.
Yeah.
It's not as brutal, but like if you want to learn how not to onboard somebody,
Oh my god. Oh boy.
essentially it's part of that world. Like you're a little on your own, but you're
Ah.
right. Like the point that I think we wanted to both make on games is that I play a lot of games, and one of the things I find out in games is that the onboarding in games is so neat because the best ones you don't know you're onboarded. They're just naturally teaching you, hey, jump here, do this thing, and it's all smooth. And that's what
Mhm.
we should aspire for our software onboarding to be like. It's, hey, oh, I get it. It's fun. It's interesting. Onboarding for T to relate that's fun. It's interesting. Why can work not be fun and interesting?
Exactly. Yeah.
Go play games and learn the techniques.
I'm gonna play Stardew Valley after this.
Yeah, we'll have to play online. I got that too.
Co-op, yeah.
Okay, Myda,
Okay.
I want to wrap up now. And again, if you want to reach out to Myda, we've got her link here on the chat or on the show. You can reach out to her on LinkedIn. This will be streaming on LinkedIn and make it really easy. Um, Once again, I want to thank you all for joining. I have a couple other links here. If you want to reach out to me, again, here I'm at LinkedIn, but you can also reach out to me at Service Rocket. We have a lot of cool programs coming out. Can do a lot for you. One of the advisory programs that I have right now is I have conversations like we're having here with Myda, although we're very structured when we're doing the business part. But I want to talk to you. If you want to learn more, if you want to get out on a podcast, reach out to me and let's keep learning about customer education and customer success. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.